Welcome to No Time Like Joe Time, where we watch our favorite shows and learn from them, even if it doesn't make sense, like your face. But it's still a good time, like your face. Today, I have a good friend with me as we look at the most random show on television. Ben Stevens is going to join me as we watch Robot Chicken. Hey Ben, thanks for jumping on with me.
Hey, no problem, Joe. Longtime viewer, first time guest.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I haven't actually posted these yet, so that's interesting. Um, Dolphins are becoming too numerous. We need to take this threat seriously.
Joe, what are you talking about?
There, there's just too many of them. They're taking our jobs.
The, the the Dolphins are taking your jobs?
I'm on to you.
Senator Johnson,
Yes.
when we started this campaign, you told us you gave us all of the skeletons in your closet.
I
How
sure
do you
did.
explain this?
Huh? I don't know how you got that. I told my team to bury it.
Senator Johnson, that duck has now come forward with several allegations, each subsequent one being more surprising and more toe curling than the last.
My only regret is I didn't finish him off the second time when I ran him over.
You should have paid him his money in the NDA, Senator Johnson.
He's a doc. Dude, what the hell was that?
Wait, what was what?
Oh, God. Oh, I will have edited it, but Ben, you are somebody who can just make me gut laugh.
Oh, well,
So
thank you.
there's two people. I mean, everybody I've done this with, like, I think they're all incredibly funny, but there's two people who just get me going. You're one of them. The other one is my friend Greg. So,
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
yes. And so that's why I'm really excited about this because I couldn't think of anybody better to do Robot Chicken with than you.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been an endless amount of quotes, I think, between us.
Oh, that just it's like a shorthand almost.
Yeah.
At this point, like,
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder already how many people are like, what the hell is Robot Chicken?
I was thinking about this the other day. Sorry, it's kind of like the TikTok or Vine of like the early 2000s almost.
Oh, huh. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes a lot of it's just like really short, bite-sized, stupid humor.
Yeah.
But like every now and then you get like a really interesting, longer one, but you never really know what you're going to get from it.
I really like that. Yeah, you're right. It's for those who don't know, Robot Chicken it's a 15-minute show, if that. And there's no it's like you're changing a channel. Like Ben said, you might get something for 3 seconds, or you might get something for like 4 minutes, and it just varies episode to episode. I think it's definitely it's the definition of not for everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
So what is kind of your history with Robot Chicken? Like, when did you first discover it, and your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, I think I discovered it probably around 2005, 2006, in that kind of time frame. My two older brothers had the first season on DVD, so I
Nice.
binge watched a lot of it there. And then maybe like a year or two later, I was old enough to kind of like stay up late in the summertime without raising any suspicion, and I watched it a lot on Adult Swim there, and I think it's definitely influential on my really stupid humor. Like just so stupid and devoid of thought, it actually becomes funny. Um, and I can tell you now that I'm pretty sure my fiance hates that. Because every time I make one of those stupid jokes to her, it just gets like a groan, or like when it's really bad, not even a response, just like a glare from her. I
Yeah.
relish every second of it.
Yeah, I understand that. My stupid humor with my wife, and just I have to set this up. My wife is like superhuman. Like she's amazing at her job. She comes home, she's like she cooks meals, she like does everything.
Mhm.
And I've been buying a little more pumpkin pie and just set the stage. Right now we're recording in February. And she's like, "Why are you getting pumpkin pie now?" And I'm like, I go, "Hey, do you know who made the Avengers happen in the MCU? Me. People who liked comic books. Nobody else did. I'm going to bring pumpkin around all year because that's what we do. We sacrifice. You wouldn't understand that because you're always on easy street." And like I could hear the eye roll. So just really dumb. So I totally understand. Yeah, I think I discovered it around your timeline, 2005, 2006. I really got into it because I was working in the night shift, and it was primarily on like I think Saturday and Sunday night.
Yeah.
And so how I would do things is I think I caught it mostly on Sunday night because I worked Monday night through Friday night. And I'd wake up early on Saturday to kind of have a normal Saturday, go to bed normal. But then Sunday, I would stay up all night to get ready for Monday. And that's a show I'd always watch. And I couldn't believe a show like that existed. It
Oh
was,
yeah, there was nothing else like it on TV at the time.
mhm.
And I believe it was at least the first couple season, it was all like stop motion animation
Yeah.
too. Like they used like actual
Yes.
like
Thank you.
toys and figures.
Hmm.
Like it had its very unique, not only like like length, like it was 15 minutes really short, but no other show was produced like it, and it
Yeah.
didn't look like anything else. It was very unique.
Yeah. And you're right. I'm glad you said that. Yeah. It's just like stop motion and they're like using toys and just I mean, they cover everything. Sometimes they'll have random events. A lot of times they cover uh like actual shows.
Mhm.
A lot of superhero stuff, which was
A lot of 80s
yeah.
pop culture.
Hmm. It's I mean, there's a Superman thing where like do 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 Superman. I do that with my kids, but instead I change it to dad. And so it's a lot of fun. So a lot of influence on me too. It's funny. 2005, I'm like, that's not too long ago, but it's almost 20 years ago.
it, it doesn't it doesn't feel real. I don't know if you remember the song 1985 by Bowling for Soup.
Yeah, yes.
We're as far away from 2005 as 1985 was from 2005 when that song came out.
I know.
And that
It's
scares the crap out of me.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy. It's weird getting old. And I feel like a lot of times, it's funny, the older I get, I think about a lot of stuff in my past, like I was kind of running from or wasn't really willing to face. And I saw this clip of Robot Chicken. I'm like, this is a simple solution to sometimes what happens. So, for those who are listening to this on the podcast, we also put this out on YouTube. So you can get a little bit more of a visual. Sometimes we have to alter a little bit for copyright reasons, but just to kind of set you up with what's going on, there is a guy who is in his car and he's running away from a vampire and he's looking behind him first. And then you'll hear what happens when he decides to look in his rear view mirror.
I must have lost him. You know, since I'm out, I might as well pick up some milk. Wait a second, I have milk at home. La la la, let's have some milk. La la la, milk is good. La la, go to home, have some milk. Yeah, yeah, go to drink milk. Have some milk.
Okay, there's so many things there. First, I love like he looks into his rear view mirror for like 2 seconds and he's like, that's gone. Like it could be beside him. And, and
Just
and
the
then,
complete 180 shift for, oh, hey, I got it.
yeah, he's just like, oh, it's fine. And for those who didn't see, so he stops the car. He's going like 180, or not quite that fast, 110. And he stops and the vampire just like it looks like it's a nard shot where he slams into it. And then the guy's like, well, since I'm out, I might as well get some milk. And he backs up onto the vampire. And then halfway over, he's like, wait, I already have milk. And then takes off and he's dragging the vampire from the car. And like, I think that's the stupid humor we're talking about. Like he's just on the way out. La 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 la, I have milk. Yeah, it's so dumb. I think one thing what I think about is for a long time, I was really into pop culture. And when I was younger, it wasn't what it was today. And I always felt really awkward because of it. And I remember the day I stopped running from it. And I'm like, you know what? I am a dork. And I'm cool with that. I became the coolest I've ever become on that day. When I was just like, okay, like whatever phantom vampire was chasing me was suddenly just gone. And it was a good feeling. Have you ever had anything like that where like, whether it's something you felt like you were running from or part of you that you thought, oh gosh, then once you stopped, you realized it was okay?
I think, not to take it too much into a different direction, but like what I kind of got out of it was like, this seemingly huge and scary problem like often has like really a simple solution.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I think like interpersonal relationships, I feel that a lot where like I feel either conflict with someone close to me or um, I think a lot of the times I have an issue with like people pleasing. I try to make everyone happy and then like I get pulled in two different ways and like I get really like upset and angry and often it's just like a simple ask for help or like oh hey can like it's usually just like a simple communication with someone and then that person's like oh yeah cool okay
Yeah.
no
Oh my
worries.
gosh. That's so good. I was thinking about that the other day because I'm like, I feel like people don't like conflict because they feel like they have to go to 0 to 60. And I think of a Scrubs episode where I don't remember what the scenario was, but JD came to the lawyer, uh, Ted, and was like, oh, what would happen if like I accidentally cause like a hand injury or something? And Ted's like, what happened? Do you still have the hand? What'd you do with it? And JD goes, calm down, Ted. And then Ted goes, no, you calm down. Okay, my bad. And just like overreact. But no, I think you're right. I think about actually what you kind of reminded me is just taking that moment. So when my son was in the hospital, they had to do some work, nothing serious on him, but the nurse who was working with him was telling me, she was like, I was working with this doctor and a patient started coding.
Mhm.
And everybody was like getting ready to jump. And he goes, guys, let's just quick breath. We're going to do this right. And then they crushed it.
Mhm.
And yeah, just having that moment. But no, I think that's really good. The interpersonal skills, I think, is, yeah, I love that. I mean, that vampire can represent so many things. And this is what we do here. We look way too deep into shows and
Mhm.
find teaching moments.
Yeah, or like
Uh,
just simply like asking for help on something.
yeah.
It's like, oh no, yeah, like I'd love to help you with that. Or I know I really have a hard time accepting help.
Yeah.
Um I have a hard time feeling like needy or like using someone, or just asking for help always for some reason feels like that to me.
Yeah.
And even though help is like everyone is usually so willing and so
Mhm.
giving, and but yeah, like it just something that simple.
Yeah, for sure. I can totally relate to that. I felt that for a long time, and I still have times where I'm like, I need to let you know I'm not taking advantage of you. And they're like,
Hmm.
I know. And I'm like, no, I need you to know. Like, I need to feel like I've shown you.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's definitely tricky. One of my I don't know, hopefully I'm still on par of what we're talking about. What I've been talking to some people who I work with about, I'm helping them learn and how to practice interviewing skills.
Hmm.
And the one thing I'm really working with them on is the difference between confidence and cockiness. Because for a long time I wasn't confident because I thought confident looked like cockiness.
Hmm.
And so I was like, well, I don't want to be confident because I don't want to be like rubbing stuff in everybody's face. And then like I finally learned like, oh, no, confidence is like, hey, I want to be the best employee I can be. Cockiness is I'm going to be the best person who's ever worked for you. I'm going
Hmm.
to be the best. So I'm like, oh, well, there is a difference. And I always think of, have you ever watched Survivor, man?
A little
Yeah.
bit with Les Stroud.
Yes.
Whatever. Yeah.
He always talked about, he's like, the first thing you have to do is breathe. If you panic, you die. And just
Hmm.
that moment of calming down.
I was gonna say real quick, your comparison of cockiness and confidence is also another great Scrubs reference with Turk when he has the
Yes.
gallbladder patient,
Yes.
when he goes
Yeah.
from like, yeah, I'm capable, because he thinks he's being too cocky,
Yeah.
and then has
Yep.
to learn a healthy amount of confidence.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's definitely helped me get where I am. And I mean, actually, we see that in the guy. How he's so confident, like it's taken care
Hmm.
of. Like,
Hmm.
no time at all. Just, oh, he's not there. Great. And I mean, I think anybody else would be like, oh, I'm still going to drive fast. I don't want to take a chance.
I
I
lost
just,
him.
and like, if you slam on the brake, he's going to catch up really quick. But yeah, sometimes that's actually what you need to do is just slow down.
Mhm.
I'm already hearing that maybe next time, if you want to come back, we need to do a Scrubs one.
Oh, we could do a 3 hour podcast on Scrubs for sure.
Definitely more to come. I kind of feel like our next clip really has to deal with the being afraid of things that maybe we don't need to be afraid of. And to set the stage on this one, there's a guy sleeping in a bed and he wakes up to find a ghost is sitting on the chair next to
What do you want? Well, something? Anything? Well, I have to get up early, so, oh, good night. What, like we all have to be assholes?
I love that opening. Just his scream and his panic. He's like trying to crawl into the corner or something. Yeah, and at the end when he's in his bed.
Well, I have to get up early.
What cracks me up about this is not too far off from what my night terrors look like. It's just that first part where he just and then like that's kind of my return to bed where I'm like, what do you want? Well, and then like it's me slowly realizing it's a dream and then going back to bed. Couple of questions for you on this one. First, was there any childhood fears you had that you look back now and you were like, that was ridiculous?
Oh man. This might be a little weird, but I remember, what was it, 2002, 2003, when the whole DC sniper thing was happening.
Oh yeah.
I thought for sure there was a sniper outside my window
Yeah.
waiting for me. So literally every day for like 2 or 3 weeks until they caught the guy, every time I got out of bed, I literally like slithered out onto the floor and army crawled out of my room until I got in the hallway and there wasn't any windows. So I thought for sure someone was going to pick me off.
Yeah. But that one I can see. I think that's silly. Like I get like as a kid, you're seeing that. I mean,
yeah.
I feel a lot worse about mine now. Thank you. Mine was bunnies. I like or any little cuddly creature basically, because there was a time I went over to my family. My parents went over to a friend's house. I don't remember this, but they told me when I came in, I was like, I looked really scared, and I go, "There's bunnies out there." And and then the other one was when my cousins got a new dog. It was just a little puppy, and again, this was like I was 5, and I went and I was kind of okay with it. I petted a little bit. I was like, okay, and then I went back out, and the puppy came out, and I freaked out. And I was like, "It can walk." I had those very silly fears. And then as an adult, are there any fears now you're like, oh, I wish I could get over this?
I'm still deathly afraid of, I'd say, 2 things. One, tarantulas, because I watched Arachnophobia at like
sure
6 years old, and that last like boss tarantula that's like super smart terrified me. And then I'm terrified of going more than like waist deep out in the ocean, because I'm convinced a shark's gonna get me, or like I'm gonna get pulled out. And like everyone else I know just like goes out full swim, but I can't go past like waist deep at all.
I'm with you. I don't like going out much in the ocean because I'm like, that's how I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get eaten by a shark. And I tell everybody who goes out to the ocean, I'm like, just don't get eaten don't get eaten by a shark for me. And everybody, okay, this is funny because this is semi-true, but somewhat silly. The only conspiracy theory I came up with is about sharks, because like my fear comes from Jaws.
Oh yeah,
like 100% where that came from. And I'm like, here's the deal: people are getting attacked right just in that bit of an ocean. We would think it's insane if a bunch of us were hanging at the edge of a forest. Some people went in a little bit and got attacked by bears. Like that never happens. So what would happen if we went even further in the forest? Like Like the only reason they're not on the menu is most sharks don't know. It's like a secret menu. Well, like, no, if you go to the shallow end, there's these great little entrees you can have.
Mhm.
It's best when they're afraid. And so I'm like, when planes crash, there's certain sharks that just go up and like are ready for you. I'm like, it's ridiculous.
Well, they can vary a little bit. Some have like a little more to them. Some are a little more bony,
Yeah.
aren't quite as good. It really depends on the batch you get.
There's, there's this place, you know, over here near the Americas, a lot of hefty people there. Really good spot.
It's going to cost you though. It's those Americans are expensive.
Yeah. I so that's mine too. And I don't know, were you when you were younger, were you scared in like swimming pools?
Not swimming pools. I got a little scared in like lakes,
Yeah.
even though there was like no way there could be a shark in one. But like I would go underwater with like swim goggles on, and I was just like waiting for like a shark to come out of
Oh,
like the murky water.
yeah.
And it just even though
It's
like I knew there wasn't going to be one in there.
yeah. Oh gosh. But when your mind puts it there, it's
Mhm.
so scary. I get it. I was like, I got freaked out even in swimming pools, which is ridiculous. Uh, and it was funny. I don't know who I was talking to. This was when, and I hate to say it, this was like when I was in high school. I wasn't like 9 years old. So old enough to clearly know it's
Mhm.
not a real threat. But I was talking to somebody, I think it was one of my youth leaders. I'm sure it was Matt. And I was like, yeah, I know it's dumb, but I get scared that there will be a shark in here. And they were like, well, there's a James Bond where they release some sharks in the swimming pool. And I was like, why? Why would you do that? Also, just for pop culture reference, there's a short, it's a mock trailer for Shark in the Pool, where a shark is released into a pool and people keep going in. And like the main character is like, guys, just don't go into the pool. This won't be a problem if you just stop going in the pool. And I quickly realized why that movie wouldn't work. Maybe one person bites the dust, but that's it.
Yeah. So was it bad? Like, do you remember like in the 90s and 2000s where um they had like the swim goggles attached to like a shark mask, and then you could put on like webbed fin hands?
Yeah.
Would that get you too, or
Oh yeah.
be
Yeah.
like, ah, shark boy?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Anything like that would get me. Another fear I think I well, so I struggle with anxiety, and there's a whole list of things that I freak out about. But one thing I was telling a group of people in the past, like what's helped me when I've started like managing my anxiety is I was always so stressed out driving into a place I didn't know where I was, especially
Mhm.
before GPS came. Because I was always convinced like if I get lost, I'm gonna run out of gas. If I run out of gas, I'm gonna end up in the worst part of town. If I end up in the worst part of town, I'm gonna be wearing the opposing gang's colors. And if I'm doing that, then they're going to kill me. And obviously, that never happened. I was wearing the same colors as the gang. So it was fine. But no, obviously, nothing like that even came close to ever happening.
Mhm.
And like, I've gone to Mall of America twice through work this week. And I'm like, yeah, it's still a little anxious about it, but it's now like, I don't want to say a healthy fear. I say healthy fear in the sense of like
It's
I'm gonna
manageable.
yeah, be aware of like what's around me. don't crash into cars,
Hmm.
and that stuff. And
I'm curious. Oh no, keep going.
no, that's all I had. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I'm curious. Have you seen the show Ted Lasso?
Yes, I haven't seen the last episode.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, like, I have some issues with anxiety too, especially around like groups of people.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
so like a fellowship hall in church after church,
Mm-hmm.
and like not quite knowing what I should do and where I should go, like anxiety's through the roof. Like I feel like
100%.
feel like a spotlight's on me.
Yeah.
Um, and this has happened before. Like I've gotten like a panic attack, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching Ted Lasso. My fiance had me watch it with her. She was like, you have to see this." So we got to season one when they're in the karaoke bar after the big win, and Ted's first panic attack comes out of nowhere. And it's probably one of the best representations I've seen
Uh,
of like an anxiety attack.
yeah.
And it took me back, and it kind of like freaked me out a little bit, but I was so glad they did it the way
Mm-hmm.
they did it, because like even watching it now like on YouTube or a clip, like it still kind of gets me a little bit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. It definitely is a good representation, like you said. I mean, as you say about that, I think about the last Christmas I had at my mom's house. Everything was going really well. There were a lot of people. We were opening gifts. It was a little crazy, and I got up and it just hit. I had a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
Had to go in the garage. I mean, it was almost exactly what happened to him. Like
Mm-hmm.
tucked my way in the corner, like cried, like loss of breath, and then slowly
Mm-hmm.
came back. And I I couldn't tell you why.
Yeah. Oh, but I yeah, I would, if anyone's curious, I mean, just search up Ted Lasso
Yeah.
panic attack. It's amazing scene.
Yeah. And when you're talking, excuse me, when you're talking about like at the end in Fellowship Hall, I don't know if this is like maybe how you could relate, but for me, it's that I don't do well at just like, hey, how are you? Hey,
Oh,
how's the job going? How's that?
absolutely.
And like I want to do bits as quick as I can get to the bits. I'm happy. I want to just
Mhm.
do all like I do bits with my kids all the time, like nonstop. Like on the way home, they were like, "Hey, Dad, can you play Army with us when we get home?" I'm like, "Well, what's that?" They're like, the Army. I'm like, oh, like the military? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, gosh, I was really hoping it was going to be a guy who had too many hands. He's just built with hands. And he's like, I can't live anymore. And just did this whole bit of this guy who's miserable because he's made of hands, basically. And, and, or I mean, kids will always ask, then what happened? And I will go through like a simple, like, oh, yeah, hey guys, we got to make sure we get home in time for dinner. Well, what if we don't? Well, then I will quickly get hungry and lose everything and start eating my shoes. Then what? Well, then I'll have to go back to shoe eating rehab that I completed 6 months ago. And my sponsor will be very upset that I ate another shoe. Then what? Well, and just like it just keeps going and going. So, I mean, is that something that like if you could just start doing bits or just like, hey,
There's a, there's only one Dillard's. It's all the way across town. It's my third purple pants of the week.
uh,
um, I think I kind of relate to that. I think mainly I think I hate having like a lot of attention on me,
oh,
and I feel like if I'm walking through or just in the fellowship hall by myself, like I feel like that attracts a lot of attention on me, or at least it feels like that, or like everyone's going to be looking at me like, oh, look at that guy by himself, or like I think the initial of like joining into a group of people in a conversation is awkward too, because like everyone's looking at you and all the attention's on you. But like once I'm in that group and can kind of be a little bit of like a fly in the wall, and then I can just interject when I want to, then I'm much more like comfortable.
Yeah. That's where like you become the sniper. You're just waiting for that moment. You just like pop in with pop culture reference, get everybody laughing. Sit back.
It was
I'm
fun.
I
It
guess I'm
was
a
always
little
fumbles.
yeah. I should when I go through this, I'm gonna have to count how many pop culture references Ben and I have done
You
and see
should
if you guys can get.
put like a little counter
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna
in the
do that.
bottom.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, that's brilliant. I'm gonna do that. Uh so I'm a little opposite with that too. I'm Mr. Look at me. I love the attention. And I think I think too, like one thing I was thinking about with like watching these clips, it's a good way to like talk about stuff. It's funny, it's ridiculous, and it's an easy way to kind of like address things. Because one thing I was thinking about with my other podcasts is like we've tackled a lot of really serious issues. But I want to go through some episodes where we're kind of find the laugh, where we can find humor in it, and not to diminish it, because that's not at all what I want. But for example, like I think the first episode I want to do is the hilarious tales of Joe's night terrors. There's so many really funny stories that happen with my night terrors. It's scary as heck when you have them, and for a long time I was really ashamed of them. But now there's so many stories I just laugh at.
I did not believe you were serious when you first told us about that. Or like the first time I experienced them too at like a youth event. Just like he's like you woke me up in the middle of the night. I'm like, is he really committed to this? Like there's no way this is real.
Yeah, so we want to talk about that because one story I would tell, me and my friend Greg, we were at Sunshine concert, and we were in a tent, and I woke up and I thought there were like bugs on me, so I started just like slapping myself, and then like I finally calmed down, and he was just sitting there quiet, and then he goes, "No offense, but did that hurt?" I was like, "No, no." He was just like, "I didn't know what to do." Um, do you have any comfort shows, like shows you like to watch if either you're feeling down or just?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them. The Simpsons is
Yes.
a really big one. Although I've found the older and older I get, the more like sensitive I am to like the really deep emotion of it. Because they really wallop you in a
Yeah.
lot of those episodes.
Mhm.
Seinfeld's always been a
Oh,
really
nice.
like comfort show. Um, and there's others I can't quite think of off the top of my head, but definitely for sure that, or Scrubs, obviously,
Yeah.
can't forget that.
Hmm.
Just it doesn't matter how many times I've seen it, I know exactly what they're going to say, what the bit or the joke is, and it's funny like the first time I saw it.
Exactly. Agreed. I feel like this is a good question for us because Robot Chicken does encompass so many different shows and media. What do you think are some of the biggest influences for you, whether personality, comedic wise, or whatever, with shows like Robot Chicken? We said was one of them. Are there any other
Oh,
shows that's really influenced you?
yeah, for sure. Again, probably The Simpsons.
Hmm.
Um, it's also helped me like kind of put my own family in context too, and that's been really
Mm.
good and healing with like oh, so like we're not the only ones that has this happen, or there are times like I see my family in the show and it makes me laugh so hard. Like to give you an example, the episode where they all go to New York City to get the car back,
Mm-hmm.
and at the end of the episode, the car has been beaten to hell, and they're crossing the bridge to leave New York, and Bart, Lisa, and Marge are like, "Oh, what a beautiful day!" And like Lisa's like, "Can we come back? Or can we come back sometime?" And it cuts to Homer, and he's just got the most like he's just got this angry face. His eye is twitching, like he is on his last bit of sanity. And that just reminds me so much of my dad on road trips.
And like I think his window's broken, and he's
Yeah.
like, "We'll see, honey." And then
Yeah.
like an old banana peel slaps into his face. "We'll see."
Oh, like, oh man, like just every time I see that episode,
No,
I'm laughing to tears. Like
no.
it's just too real. Um, but I, what was the question again?
What shows influenced you the
Oh,
most?
um, yeah, The Simpsons. Definitely a lot of like Nickelodeon shows,
Mm,
like late '90s, early 2000s Nickelodeon cartoon
mhm.
shows. There's a show called Drake and Josh
Oh yeah.
that that watched a lot with my sister.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I would say those are a few for sure.
Yeah. Uh, One thing I was going to quickly say about The Simpsons, I think you nailed it. I mean, that's why I love media so much in this way is, I mean, I think that show blew up because until like, and I try to explain to my boys, like the shows that were on during that time always depicted like a perfect family.
Hmm.
Everybody had it together. Everybody was good. They resolved their issues. It's great. Simpsons came and just changed that. And it had a lot of heat when it first came on. But like,
Hmm.
I mean, same thing for us. Yeah, there are so many. Even now with my family, there's times I'm like my wife will watch it and she's like, I so relate with Marge, and I'm
Hmm.
like, yep. And my dad reminds me, my dad was a lot like Homer, just
Hmm.
very like he wasn't lazy at all. He was nonstop working, but just kind of there's a um Homer is like trying to pick lottery numbers and he's talking to Bart. He's like, "When's your
Hmm.
birthday? Okay. When's when's Lisa's birthday? You don't know. What kind of brother are you?" Like that. That was my dad.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I just like that you can see yourself in characters or Ted Lasso, the panic attack. We can see
Hmm.
ourselves in that. Uh
Yeah.
the the so yeah, Simpsons definitely influenced me. The way actually I would say the Simpsons influenced me is it taught me how a show can be more than a show. Because
Hmm.
growing up, me and my dad had a little bit of a tense relationship, but when we watched The Simpsons together, we were united.
Hmm.
And I have the best memories of my dad growing up are watching The Simpsons.
Hmm.
Um, but then I think Robot Chicken has influenced me as well, just the randomness. And then Conan O'Brien is probably one of my biggest influences. Just
Oh
like
yeah.
on humor, self-deprecating. Like I
Hmm.
don't like going after anyone else. I like
Hmm.
to like make myself look like the dope. One thing I always think about, we were at a youth event and this hit me just so hard. You quoted a line from uh, Robot Chicken and it just killed me. Do you remember what line it was?
I don't know.
It was the "You gonna cry, huh? I don't even have tear ducts."
That's right. The Skeletor. I don't even have tear ducts, you jerk.
Yeah. And I don't know what, they just was at the right time and I was crying. Oh, I just thought it was the funniest thing. And I've had that a couple other times with Robot Chicken where like I watch it and I'm like, this is just the funniest thing. I can think of two other times. One was I was trying to explain to somebody what Robot Chicken was, and there's this episode where this guy's in the bathroom, he's pooping, and then like Rumpelstiltskin comes and he's in the form of a monster, and you see two really big feet, and he starts slamming on the door, and the guy goes, occupied, occupied. And I lost it. I just started laughing so hard because it's just the scene was so dumb. And then, just for those who are wondering, he goes to the stall next over and just does a huge crap. I think it can bring people together.
Mm-hmm. Oh, quick! Can I tell you one other?
Yes,
I
please.
remember one other that I remember that would crack you up like on demand every time.
Yeah,
It's a really short one.
I know which one you're gonna say.
It cuts to like two businessmen with briefcases on a seesaw that are going up and down, and there's just like little kid walks up and is like, "Can I play?" And one of them, excuse the language, but one of them just goes, "Oh, you go to hell, you piece of garbage!"
The kid runs off crying, and that's what it's so dumb. It doesn't make any sense, but it's so funny. It's so, yeah, two business guys like dressed up. Oh god, the kid comes up and yeah, I still remember the first time I saw that. I was at my grandparents' house and I saw that and I was just dying. I had to rewatch it like 5 times. Yeah, just so stupid. Oh gosh. So one thing we do towards the end is I ask all my guests 3 questions. So the first question is, which of the clips did you think was funnier?
I think maybe the first one with the vampire. There's just something about right away where he looks in the rearview mirror and is just like, "Oh, I lost him."
Yeah.
Just the dumb confidence.
Yes.
Just something about that just cracks me up every time.
Definitely. This is a tough choice. I think the only reason I'm going to go with the ghost one is because how much it reminds me of Night Terrors. And that just makes me laugh so much. Okay, next question is, if we had to take a clip and do a deep dive, like, okay, we're going to look at this, we're going to pull as much like insight out of this clip as we could, which clip would you choose?
Robot Chicken?
Yep.
Or just, okay.
From the 2 clips we looked at.
Oh, from the 2 clips. I'd say maybe the second one.
Oh yeah.
I just think there's a lot there's a lot of angles you could take on that. Just like this thing that you've been taught your whole life is big, evil, and scary is actually, it's just a benign thing that's just sitting in it's literally doing nothing to you.
This is why I like going second, because you swayed my answer. I was thinking about the first one, but you're right. I think that would be a really interesting angle to take and just go through like what are all the things that we were told to be afraid of that we don't need to be afraid of. Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's a good insight. The last question is, which clip did you learn the most from? Did you feel like we got the most insight from?
I mean, again, I think I'd probably say the second one. I feel like we were able to really just kind of go off on that one on a little riff.
Yeah.
That didn't even feel like it just felt like we were going off without any effort at that point.
Yeah.
So
agreed. Yeah. I will agree with you. I think that one was just the fear reaction, the nothing to be afraid of. I mean, so many different angles we took. And yeah, I like that it did bring us to some like real issues like anxiety or, realizing that families aren't perfect. So I think that's really a good one.
I think all the insight we got out of that is definitely worth a like and subscribe. From my opinion, at least.
Look at this guy. I got my new publicist right here. Speaking of publicist, so do you have much of a online presence? Like, are you on social media a lot or not really?
A little bit. Like I lurk on Facebook a little bit, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit on Reddit, but not a whole lot. It's life's been a lot better, kind of pushing more of that out.
Yeah. So what I'll say, what I've been telling people is, if you guys are like listening to this and you're like, that Ben seems really cool, I'd love to reach out to him and say, hey, great job or whatever. You can comment on the YouTube comments and we'll get it. And
And don't
may,
find me. Do not
yeah,
look for me.
I I had a girl on here and we're talking about that. I'm like, she's like, no, if you're a friend, you can reach out to me. So I'm like, yeah, sickos, don't bother trying. Cool. All right. Well, dude, thank you so much for doing this with me. I had a lot of fun as I knew I would.
Yeah, I love talking with you. Anytime I get to talk with you, Joe, it's just nothing but good stuff. My ribs always hurt afterwards from laughing so
Yes.
much. Like it just you give a very unique kind of joy to anyone you talk to. So
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's very kind. Uh, well, thank you, everybody. I'm so glad you joined us, and we'll see you next time.